Hi there. We're at Frankfurt Airport today in the Airbus A320 in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I'm going to show you how I set up my thrust reversers using FSUIPC 7, which is in beta release for this edition of Flight Simulator. There's a few issues with SimConnect still, which hopefully will be fixed in the next version, that take down your frame rates quite badly. But this tutorial on the FSUIPC interface should still apply. So first I wanted to just show you the options in the control settings for the throttle. And under power management, under throttle, you've got individual controls for each engine, but you've got the master controls down here for the throttle access, and you can assign, there's two columns, you can assign, two different sliders if you want, or two different axes to the same to control the same value. So here I've got the throttle z-axis, which is the main axis, and then also I've got slider control, which I normally use for something else like the spoilers or something. But this doesn't let me control the reverse thrust, and how I'd prefer it is if you see on the back of the X52, there's a little four-way switch just on the back, and I want to set it up so that I can pull back on that, and that will trigger the reverse thrust. And then if I let go, the reverse thrust is cut, and the reverser doors close. It's hard to set that up with this set of controls. There's toggle throttle reverse, and what that does, if I show you back in the game, what that does, it switches the throttle axis from activating the forward thrust to operating the reverse thrust. Okay, so normally you've got the 0 to toga range here, and then you click the button, and now it operates in the reverse direction. That's okay, but it's not optimal, and it can be confusing in a landing situation. An extra thing to have to remember. So because you want to make this as fluid as possible, and you hopefully make it work between different aircraft in a similar way, being able to pull back on this button and trigger the reverse thrust would be nice. So I'm going to go back into these settings and disconnect the throttle. So I'm going to clear this and the reverse thrust toggle. Okay, so now my controller basically has no effect on the throttle in the game. So I'm just pushing it back and forth, and there's nothing happening. So I'm going to fire up FSUIPC 7. I can find it. It's now a standalone executable that runs in the taskbar rather than a plugin within the simulator. So I don't know if you're familiar with this interface or not. This is the old if you use the previous versions, it'll be familiar to you. So I want to set first I want to set my throttle through this, and this. So here I'm operating the throttle back and forwards, and now I want to assign that to the throttle, and so I have it set to FSUIPC calibration, and then I have it operating as a throttle, and I set the throttle axis here. And then in the calibration page, I have the maximum and minimum values set here. That's step one. Now with the reverses, so I'm going to pull back on the button I want to use. Actually, I have to go back to the button page. Okay. And so I'm going to pull back on that four-way button. That's the button ID. But what I have it mapped to is when I push it, it decreases the throttle, which basically winds it back into the negative and triggers the thrust reverser. And then as long as I hold it down, the throttle decrease keeps going. If I release the button, it sends a message to cut the throttle, and that basically cancels the reverse thrust, and then the door's shut. So with that all set up and FSUIPC running, let's see. So when I push forward with the throttle, the throttle also operates the same way in the game. And then if I pull back on my little button I've set up now, it now operates reverse thrust. And as soon as I let go, it cuts throttle to 0, and the reverse thrust kind of winds back to 0. So going outside, what do we see? So if I pull back on the reverse thrust, thrusters operate. Let go, they close. Let me try that again. And it's easy as that, really. Once you've got it set up, it should work the same way in other aircraft, and that's probably the easiest way, at least I've set up, so I can easily remember how to operate that. And it's just that if it's within a fingertip reach of your throttle. So next, I might load up the other aircraft just to double check it. And actually, if I use the developer mode to switch aircraft, let's see. Let's set it up for the the 747 and let's see what happens. Now you'll see that the frame rate is a little choppy, but that's because this version of SimConnect has some issues. Hopefully that will all be resolved. Now switching aircraft, it takes a few seconds. Okay. Here we go. You see what I mean about the frame rate. So here's the engines. This is middle panel one. medium, the zoom level. Okay, so let me see. I pull back. Yes. Let go. I push the button. Press reverses operate. They, and they will basically go to maximum reverse thrust as long as you hold it down. Let go, and they close up. Thrust reverses, go back to the engine go back to idle. And that's kind of the ideal way of operating them, at least within the flight sim, given fairly limited set of controls. You get it to work for different aircraft. So let's try it one more time in the Dreamliner. Okay, so now we have the Dreamliner loaded up. Let's look again. What's up here? Okay. Engine's already running. I pull back from the reverser. There we go. Let go. Closes back up. Why not let those planes in the way? There we go. And then if we go inside the cockpit, you can see on the engine decam down here. So I'm going to pull back on the reverse button. And let go. And what does that mean for going throttle? So I operate that thrust reverse and let go. If I have the power. Do it, pull it back, let go, goes back to 0. Try it again. First thrust, full power, let go. And then we go back to idle. So it's easy as that, really. Seems to work for at least all the jet aircraft we need to operate. If you know differently, or that's a better way to do it in the default controls, without having to use a third-party program, let me know in the comments. Alright, well, see you next time. Thanks.